All right, hello and welcome back. We are talking about December. It is now February, so once again, we'll be coming out with the January next week, and we'll be caught back up and then stay on track ever since. Happy to have you guys back. Fun lineup today. Doing once again, same place this time, two different varieties, a white and a red, which I think is kind of fun, and we'll go through those now. We're going to start off, though, with a pretty awesome wine. This is Salway. They are a really, really amazing producer. I think that these guys might make some of my favorites of the different varietals that we know of in Germany. This one being Pinot Gris. It's Cabernet, it's dry, so that's kind of a nice thing. A lot of people think German wines, they think sweet, but nowadays you're seeing a ton of German Pinot Noirs, you're seeing Bauernfränkisch and some other really fun varietals come out of that same area. Salway's been around a very long time, so it's kind of fun to bring them in. Pretty iconic label too with the hawk on there. This is their Pinot Gris. Pretty mellow on the nose, got some green notes in there, a little bit of minerality. Maybe a little bit of citrus fruit, possibly. Super clean, crisp, delicious. You could serve this pretty dang chilled, or you could serve it around cellar temp, like the 60 to 65 degree point. And I think it tastes really good in both ways. You'll get a little bit more of the richness, viscosity of the warmer, and really clean, beautiful minerality and acidity as it gets colder. Highly suggest this with a nice seafood opener. You could do this with all sorts of things like oysters even, work really well. You could do like a crudo or a ceviche. The acidity is pretty high and beautiful, so I would stay away from things with a lot of spice to it. I just don't think that'll really work well together. I think seaweeds and nori would also go really well with this flavor profile, so if you did like little hand rolls or something like that, or even like a masubi. You could do Spam too. I think it would hold up to it. It has enough acid to combat the saltiness of a ham product like that. But nonetheless, I think that's a really delicious wine. Can't wait for you guys to let us know what you think about it. And next up is a white wine from Mount Etna. I've actually been talking to a couple of people about this lately, and this is one of those places that I think is starting to put out some absolutely incredible wines. I love this maker specifically, Benanti. Now, there's a lot of outside money coming into Mount Etna right now because of the ability to grow things like Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. None of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay are grown there, but the varietals that they grow, Caricante and Alicante Boucher, I'm wrong, sorry, this is Caricante 100%, and the red that we'll have later is the Near Luce. So, nonetheless, Benato, old school maker. This is Contrada Renazzo, which is a single vineyard source on Mount Etna. Like I said, 100% Caricante. Sorry, can't keep my words out today. And 2019. Southern part of Italy, but because of the high elevation, it's not super hot in that area, so it's kind of nice that as the elevation goes up, you get a little bit more crisper, cleaner wines with a little bit lower alcohol. It's 12% actually, so pretty low. For southern Italy. Sometimes you see a lot higher because the temperatures. On the nose, really beautiful green notes. There's a lot of like sour grass and maybe some herbs, bright summer herbs, Really interesting notes. You could sit there and smell that for hours, I think. On the palate, more mellow with the acid than I think you would think on the nose. Long lingering finish, which is always really nice. There is definitely some herbaceous notes in there, not heavy by any means, not like Viognier or florality like Gewürztraminer, but just really clean like herbaceous notes, which I think is really yummy and would go extremely well with like a piece of grilled fish. I know I've mentioned it multiple times in the past, but I like grilling things and adding a little bit of char to unoaked wines. I think that it brings a roundness to them that's really appealing. This would sing with like a grilled piece of sea bass or halibut or something like that. You could definitely do like an herb sauce, like a salsa verde or a chimichurri or anything like that. That'll really pair well with the green notes in the wine. I'd stay away from, once again, things with spice. I don't think this is a great spicy wine. spicy food wine, I should say. But nonetheless, this is a really wonderful wine. It's not very often you see these wines out and about yet. I think you'll start seeing them more and more as time goes on. But Caricante off of Mount Etna by Benanti, and I think you should check it out. We're going to hit up another Etna wine at the end here. That'll be red, so that's kind of fun to play that game of back and forth. Next up is something you might have seen before, actually, but hopefully not. This is Sandy. This is down in like the southern end of the Central Coast area. Sandy is kind of the brainchild of, I'm trying to remember his first name, but Mormon is his last name, and then Raj Par, who is the famous sommelier. They make this 100% Pinot Noir rosé. This is a beautiful wine. I've had it on the wine list before. I've also had it many times by the glass. It's just one of those rosés that I wanted to put on so you guys can see. I think you guys have had the Cariccioli Pinot Noir rosé, and different area. That's Santa Lucia Highlands. This is further south, but still cool climate because it is so close to the coast. Fairly iconic nose with the light red fruits. You can smell good acid, very clean wine, so not a lot of oak, or no oak probably in this. On the palate, just graceful, really beautiful, good acidity bound up in the fruit there as well. It's got a very lingering, beautiful finish. Guessing that, skin contact, as you kind of know, adds a little bit more weight to wines. Some of them go all the way into being, the pink style wines solely from skin contact. But I feel like this has a good amount of grip to it for a rosé. It's not just real light and kind of like refreshing like a lot of rosés are. This has more structure. I really love this wine. I think it's really fun. I think in the time that we're in right now, it'd be really nice to pair this together with some citrus qualities. I think grapefruit would actually go well with this, even though grapefruit's a little bit bitter. I think this wine can handle it. Definitely think oranges of all different kinds. You could definitely do like a nice salad with this. If you're looking for proteins, maybe try like a citrus chicken dish where you maybe pan-sear some breast and then finish it with orange juice and then base it over until the orange juice starts reducing down into something a little bit thicker. Or you can kind of go the opposite route and maybe braise chicken legs in a bunch of citrus until it's nice and pull apart, and then use that in a different way. But I think that this can handle light dishes, lighter protein dishes, or salads, stuff like that. So it can be a fun way to tie in some citrus for this season that we're in right now. Next up, let me get rid of this. Oh darn, right? Is going to be Jackrabbit Brewing. They're in West Sacramento. Been friends of theirs for a very, very long time, since I first opened. This is called Table Manners. It is a winter wheat wine. So it's a barley wine style beer, nice and dark and rich. Thought it was kind of suiting for the end of our cold weather here and getting into lighter weather. So I would suggest opening this up. This has been aged too. It is a barrel program there, so smells almost sour-like, which is really fun. You can see the color is really beautiful. It's a dark amber color. I was expecting maybe a little bit darker, so I'm really pleased that this is so light in color, and like I said, the sourness on the nose. Honeycomb on there as well, but not in a sweet way. Apricot, like dried apricot, is very heavy on the nose. Wow, on the palate, super well balanced. I didn't taste this one ahead of time. I haven't had this in a long time, and I didn't remember it. But this is a lower ABV. It's definitely not hot like a lot of barley wines. In fact, I don't think this is winter wheat wine. So I think this is traditionally a wine, yeah. With white wheat, pale malt, small doses of roasted malts, and even a hint of cranberry. This wheat wine is perfect complement to any holiday gathering. So kind of a cool description that I think suits it extremely well. It's always nice when a producer has notes on a bottle that really characterize what's inside of it in a really good way, and I think that's exactly what this is. I want some pasta with this, to be honest with you, like a carbonara or some simple like cacio e pepe. Something simple with like a little bit of cream or butter, you know, something with a little bit of richness but not too much. A little pepper I think would be really well with this. It's delicious. I'm hoping you guys dig this beer, and put some comments on this video about what you think about Jackrabbit and their winter wheat wine. Super interesting, fun wine. Next up, we have Etna Rosso. So we had Etna Bianco, which is white. Now we have the red. This is by Terra Nere. We've had this on for quite a while on different vineyards and different sources, but the same maker. I love their reds from Mount Etna. I think they are beautifully mid-bodied, just like a Pinot Noir, and I'm obviously a big Pinot guy. This is 2020, so fairly fresh. I want to smell this first because I could tell you all about it because I've used it so often and love it so much. This was like my first way into Etna wines, and since then I've gone to a lot of different producers. Really kind of fallen in love with the area and the elevation and the wines and the native varietals too, right there in that area. So very fun wine. On the nose, it's like Pinot as far as the structure, but not with so much of the kind of bright red, you know, the cherry notes and all that. A little bit more on the mineral side. And when we say mineral, some people, there's a very large discussion in the somm world about minerality and what that means to wines. Science says that minerals don't trace up vines into fruit, so you can't taste minerality. I heavily disagree. I feel like terroir, the place of where the wine grapes are grown, definitely impacts the flavor profiles in much different ways than just the temperatures and the diurnal shift of, you know, night and day temperatures and all of that. I do think that elements of the soil that it's grown in definitely make a difference. That's why limestone wines have that limestone flavor profile and you know, etc. But this has like grippy, beautiful volcanic soil. It's a little bit drier than a Pinot Noir would be. But when I say medium bodied, I mean it. I think that's just in that same realm. So if someone is a big Pinot drinker, I would definitely offer them this wine. And on the palate, you get almost a mix between Grenache and something like that, with a decent amount of like the green kind of qualities along with the red, and then Pinot richness. It's very luscious on the palate, definitely has weight to it, so when you're drinking it, it doesn't have that watery kind of texture in the palate. Very appealing red wine. Suited for anything up to like duck, maybe not heavy preparations of duck, but maybe lighter preparations of duck. Once again, it's citrus season, so I'm thinking about citrus. Blood orange in this I think would be an absolutely lights out pairing. Really fun wine. I hope you guys enjoy the Etna White and the Etna Red. Once again, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about the wines. We don't get that very often, but hopefully that'll start becoming more of a thing where we can have a cool discussion about the wines that are in these packs. Now we're on to a very cool wine, Carmenere. This is Santa Carolina. It's a Reserva from their estate, so they grow all the grapes that they make their wine from. This is in the Valle de Cacapol. I'm probably saying that wrong. But this is a very fun wine that I've had in the cellar for quite some time. So it's interesting, and it's going to be interesting to kind of taste it again and see what it's tasting like now after having it in the cellar for so long. This is 100% Carmenere too. There's nothing else added to it. So definitely tasting, or smelling, I should say, some of the oak on this wine. I don't think it's heavily oaked, but I do think that there is a lot of depth to this. There's a meaty quality to it. I don't have a lot of experience with Carmenere, so it's kind of fun to pick this wine, and I haven't tasted this in probably 7 years. So this is going to be my first time tasting with you guys. But on the nose, definitely red fruited, maybe a little bit of black fruit in there as well. And like I said, I'm getting some of those herby kind of notes as well. Wow. So a little bit more mellow than I imagined it would be. It doesn't have a whole lot of grip, although it has a big amount of flavor, so it is a very rich wine in that sense, but not rich in the flavor or the grip of the mouth. Definitely in the flavor profile, it has a lot of really beautiful red fruity flavor. Reminds me of something like Grenache in that area. I think that this is a fun wine to drink all the time. This is definitely an easy thing to put down. And now that I'm tasting it again, I'm kind of excited that we have a little bit left in the cellar, because this would be for the red wine drinker that wants to have it with slightly lighter foods. Definitely more structured than the Etna Rosa. You're definitely taking a step into the bolder category, but not so much as like a Cabernet Sauvignon or something like that. It's very pretty. It's a very pretty red wine with a great amount of fruit concentration. I do get some of those kind of forest flora characteristics that I get from a lot of the old world wines, meaning somewhere in Europe. They've been growing wine in this area for a very long time, so it's kind of fun to have something from a completely different part of the world that has a lot of history to it. Obviously, elevation things are big deals in South America because there are some of the highest vineyards in the world in there. And this wine is fun. So Santa Carolina, Reserva Estate Carmenere. I would say you could go a lot of different ways with this. There's wild mushrooms happening right now, yellowfoots, hedgehogs, chanterelles. So I would say make yourself a nice risotto, a nice mushroom risotto. Saute some mushrooms for the top. Maybe finish with a little bit of lemon. If you've never made risotto, hit us up. I'll give you a great recipe to turn out really beautiful risotto using local rice. Yeah, what a fun lineup. I was really surprised by the beer. I thought that was really fun, really interesting. Or I shouldn't say beer, it's a wine, but made by beer makers. Really, really good. Surprisingly good, actually. Fun wines, fun lineup. Can't wait for you guys to try it, and can't wait to get you guys the January wines as soon as possible. With that being said, have a great rest of your month, and I hope to see you at the next tasting event.